Coming up, the leadership quality that is rarely found in politics today and why it matters as we approach another election. And then companies are having a hard time keeping politics out of the hallways at the office. We'll discuss that and more. Helping you win at work. I'm Ken. This is the Ken Coleman Show. All right, the election is fast approaching, and we're going to talk about elements of it. This is not a brand new show. I'm not all of a sudden jumping into a bad Rush Limbaugh impersonation. It's not what is happening. What is happening is this is a great opportunity for those of us who want to lead, for those of us who are leading, for those of us who do care about our country, who want to be civically minded but not get caught up in all of the nonsense. And my goodness, that's a very vanilla label. It's outrageous. The right and the left, both sides of the aisle, the extreme behavior that 20 years ago, you'd go, this isn't real. Am I right, Bob? We've been around longer than everybody else in the booth. And I'm telling you, the stuff that people say online, the stuff that people say on a camera, 20 years ago, if you'd have told me this is what political discourse is going to look like in 2024, I'd have said, you're out of your mind. Chicken Little is not, the sky's not falling, relax a little bit. That's what I would have said. 20 years ago, that would have been 2004. 30 years ago, 1994, you'd have looked like you were a nut. I grew up idolizing a guy by the name of Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan famously had a great relationship with a guy by the name of Tip O'Neill. Now, Tip O'Neill was the Democrat Speaker of the House, legend, warhorse, liberal scion. I mean, the guy was the stud to that party. And Reagan was equally the stud and the golden boy of the other party. And opposites, I mean, completely opposed. And yet would weekly spend time together. Having coffee, a beer, whatever. There was a civility. I would suggest to you that while there were strong feelings on both sides of the aisle back then, and people talked about politics with their families, and it caused issues back then, these issues are always going to be emotionally supercharged because of the passion and the conviction attached to a position. Okay? This is always going to be the case. All right. But leaders have the ability to set an example, to rise above that stuff and focus the conversation. Politically is what we're talking about today, but this is leadership lessons all around it. They have the ability to keep the conversation focused on policies, ideas, solutions. That's not where we're at today. The team came to me and said, would you share with your audience maybe a decision-making process? What are they looking for as they vote for the leader of this country? But here's the deal. I can't teach that. They asked me to teach it, and I told them, I can't teach it. What I can teach today is what we should be seeing out of our leaders, what we should require of our leaders. Now, this is going to offend some of you, and it's about as G-rated as I can be. If you think that the two primary candidates that we have right now are the best of us right now, then you shouldn't be listening and watching this show. Here's a rhetorical question. Do you really believe that the two candidates for president are the best of us? Do you really think they are? I'll answer my own question. They aren't. They're not the best of us. So what's happened? Over time, a difference in view of policy, of passion, of conviction has turned into an identity. And if you don't identify on my team, then you are a bad person. And it's no longer about policy differences. It has become about people differences. And it's splintering our country. Now, what is a leader's role in this? That's all I'm going to say about that. I don't think anybody disagrees with me. I don't know anybody could disagree with me that we aren't splintered as a country. Here's what we need more of from real leaders. We need candidates on every level, your local, your state, and your federal politics. We, the people, can clamor for it, and we will get it if we ask for it. But there needs to be a different standard. Here's the standard. We need leaders who are known for vision casting, not insult throwing. We need leaders who are known for vision casting, not question dodging. Our current political climate, folks, we're going to watch these presidential debates. I've said it before, I'll say it again. You ready for this? I'm going to tell you what you're going to see in these debates. You're going to see insult after insult after insult, followed by accusation after accusation after accusation. Instead of idea after idea after idea. Instead of solution after solution after solution. This is leadership. This is leadership. In the real world of business, effective leaders are effective because they can cast a vision. And not everybody gets behind the vision, but a majority do, and thus they're successful. A vision. Reagan was famous for borrowing from Matthew, a book of the Bible, and using in a speech, a shining city on a hill. He projected a future of America that was to be this positive force in the world, and he likened it to, again, a shining city on a hill. He would speak about America's best days are still ahead of us. We can still do more. We can become better as a nation. We can do this, this, and this. This was a forward-thinking vision. Today, it's all about, it's going to be awful if you don't vote for me. That's it. That's the message on both sides. We got to worry about this if you vote for this person, and we're going to worry about this if you vote for this person. It is the dueling strategies for the apocalypse is upon us. Choose me, and I'll stop the apocalypse. And then the other one goes, the apocalypse is upon us. Choose me, or the apocalypse is going to hit us. So let me give you a formula to try to answer my team and say, how could I share with the audience what you should be looking for in a candidate? I just had to tell you, I just don't think you're going to see it. I guess anything's possible. Well, here's what a leader does in casting vision. The leader says, this is where we are going. By the way, this is when politics is at its best, when you have two competing visions. I think we need to go here. This is where we're going. And by the way, we're not going to be dishonest about it. We're going to say, this is what I see as the future of America. We're going here. Here's why I think we go there. Tell us that. And then show us how we get there. That's what great leaders do. They stand up for other people and they go, this is where we're going. Destination. Out. Up. We're moving forward. This is vision casting. This is why I, as a leader, or I, as the candidate, believe we should go there. And then finally, they begin to detail out, this is how we will get there. So simple formula. This is where we're going. This is why I think we should go there. We the people. And this is how we will get there. And at that point, people decide. I'm in. Or I'm out. But regardless, We are focused on forward progress, not this constant demagoguing and backwards fear-mongering, and we got to guard against this. No, let's go forward. I don't think you're going to hear or see that, folks, but we'll see. Hey, folks, I want to tell you about Aiden. He started at Bethel Tech 2 weeks after graduating high school, and less than a year later, he's 19 and working as a full-stack software developer. He loved the idea of being able to work at his own pace, but what he really thought was cool was Bethel Tech's faith-based learning environment and being with classmates who had a similar worldview. Now, if this is you, or if you have a son or a daughter that's looking for the next step out of high school and they may be tech-minded, at least interested, you need to talk to Bethel Tech. Listen to this. Fortune Magazine named them as a top 10 best UX UI bootcamp for 2024. And right now, they're offering you 10% off because you listen and watch The Ken Coleman Show. They also allow you to pay cash, and I know you'll like that. Go to BethelTech.net/Ken Coleman for details. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back to the Ken Coleman Show. Thrilled to have you with us. All right, staying on this political theme because it is an election year, and it is, it felt like to me like July was the longest month in the history of politics. Guy gets almost killed. One candidate, a failed assassination attempt, and like 10 days later, 2 weeks later, the current president goes, I'm out. A lot happened in July, folks. This was breakneck. It was crazy. It's nuts. So here's a headline from the Wall Street Journal. And this is taking on the issue of politics in the office. Now, look. It's on the minds of everybody. Some people like to talk about it more than others. I'm just curious on our team in there. Do any of you all, I'm not going to put you on the spot to say anything, but do you guys talk about it at work? Does it come up? Everybody's shaking their head. Okay. I'm saying outside of a meeting with me. It doesn't come up outside of a meeting with me? Oh, it does. You're having fun with me. Yeah, because we only bring it up when it's like this kind of content. Okay. That's interesting. We are in this weird dynamic right now where a lot of corporations are getting tired of all of the activism in their companies. Here's an example. We've talked about this on the show. Google Chief Executive Officer Sundar Pichai, I guess that's how you say that, told employees in April that the office isn't a place to debate politics, noting this is a business. Now, this was in reaction to a massive protest at some of Google's locations. So he's coming in going, look, guys, you can go protest on the weekends, protest on weeknights. When you're at the office, we're not protesting. And I agree with that. Okay. But this idea that you can stamp out political discourse in the office, it's insane. You can't police that. There's no reason to police it. The actual conversation. What you want is for someone to show themselves to be a mature adult and be able to have that conversation and not cause a lot of tension in the office. It's what people talk about. It just is. It's the biggest story in the world. This article quotes John Vander Ark, the CEO of a trash hauler, Republic Services. They employ roughly 42,000 people. And Vander Ark said, I know that my workforce has a wide range of political views, and he told leaders that he wants managers to emphasize civility. Civility. The conversation. Civil. Can you have a conversation about that? I'm going to give you a little bit more on that personally in a minute. But here's the challenge. Americans have become less tolerant of political beliefs that diverge from their own and the people who hold those views. This is according to Pew Research. The share of Democrats or Republicans who describe people from the opposite party as closed-minded, dishonest, immoral, unintelligent, or lazy rose from 2016 to 2022 by more than 20 percentage points. Now, I want to go back through this list again, okay? And let's just assume that you've got a coworker who, prior to knowing what they think about politics or how they plan to vote, have managed to hold their job down for a while and, by all marks, seem to be a very productive member of the team. And all of a sudden, you find out that they support the party, or they are a card-carrying member of a party that you can't stand, and you can't stand their candidate, and it makes you sick to your stomach. Now, first of all, that's a problem. I mean, some people have some of the most adverse reactions to somebody having a different viewpoint. It's like, will you freaking grow up? Will you grow up? I understand you believing what you believe and standing for what you believe and voting the way you believe. I'm all for that. But becoming physically agitated over somebody else having a different opinion than you? Here's a question for everybody watching and listening today. How many of you actually think you can change the mind of a coworker on how they vote? Anybody? What about if you got your best insult and argument loaded up? What if you got a really good argument with some data points and you finish it off with a real zinger of an insult? Do you think they're going to go, Ken, you got me on that one? Those are some really good data points I hadn't considered. And that insult, that little jab at the end, that got me over the top, man. That's it. I'm a Republican now. You got me. I hadn't seen that article. And then that little shot you gave me at the end. This is great. I'm a Democrat. Let's go to lunch. It's not going to happen. So if it's not going to happen, then why do we allow ourselves to get so stemmed up that we get pissed off at somebody who's done nothing to us at all? Look at this. This is what we think about people who are on the other side of the aisle. Close-minded, dishonest, immoral, unintelligent, or lazy. They're lazy? They're lazy? I got to tell you something. I grew up in a very small rural community from birth to age 12. I grew up in a small rural Appalachian community. And my dad pastored a church there. Full disclosure, my dad, I grew up in a home. My dad's very conservative. He loved Ronald Reagan. I'm conservative. I love Ronald Reagan. Don't hate me, because I could actually sit with all of you who are on the complete opposite side of me, and we could have a fabulous conversation about why you believe what you believe, and I'd never insult you, nor would I debate you. You know why? Because I actually learned a long time ago the hard way that my best points and my best insults weren't going to change your mind. And so I've gotten away from debating, and I've stepped into a posture of understanding. Because you know what I actually want to know from somebody who would call themselves a liberal or a progressive? You know what I want to know from you? I want to know what is behind what you believe. What you like about those policies. I want to know. I want to understand. I really do. Not to debate you, not to counterpoint you. I just want to understand. But here's what point in bringing up this small community. In that small community, that was a union community, and there were a lot of Democrats, and I watched some of the hardest working men in my life who were union members and would vote Democrat, would call themselves liberal. I'm not going to call a liberal lazy. That's dishonest, because these people weren't lazy. They have a different viewpoint than me. Because they support welfare and social programs and things of that nature, doesn't make them lazy. The hardest working people I've ever met in my life. That's the point I want to make. There are always reasons to why people believe what they believe and vote the way they vote. And debating isn't going to change it. That's for the candidates to get the masses. We got to stay out of it. But we have allowed ourselves to get pulled into the party system and the way candidates talk about other candidates, and it has changed. It is taken a tone of nastiness and pettiness, and the things that are said online between supporters, between candidates, on air, it is absolutely out of control. It is not the best of who we are. So in the office, here's my take. Don't try to convince anybody to vote the way you vote. Don't try to convince anybody that you're right, that they're wrong. If you can't handle that, walk away. But the issue is not that we're discussing politics. The issue is how we discuss it. Seek to understand. Not to agree, but to understand. Why do you believe that? What's the reason for that? Tell me more. Dig. Dig a little bit. Let them tell you. How do you feel about this? Now, this policy over here on this side of the aisle, what about that upsets you? It's a very thoughtful question. Again, they're going to say things that you don't like. But it's not about that. It's about discourse. And you're not going to change anybody's mind. And so we're in a really interesting place in our country. And I will tell you candidly, the level of discourse we are at right now has got to change. We got to cool it off. We got to chill out. Doesn't mean you have to sell yourself, whatever you think you're selling yourself away. I'm just telling you, this discourse has got to change. In the office, in our homes, on the streets, at rallies, in the halls of power. All right, welcome back to the Ken Coleman Show. Hey, let me tell you about our signature resource for those of you that need some confidence. You get that through Clarity. Find the work you're wired to do. It's about a 45-minute read that you should read after you take the assessment, which is in the back of the book right here. Tear that out. Take that 18 to 20-minute assessment. It's going to give you a detailed report on what you do best, what you enjoy doing most, and results that motivate you. When those come together, you're going to see what is a purposeful job description. You can then read the book, and I'll tell you how to take that purpose statement in the assessment and ideate and select a path forward. And if you are interested in that, kencoleman.com is where you can get that. Also, if you are watching on YouTube, would love for your support to spread the word, comment, and subscribe. And then if you're listening on podcast, give us a follow and a 5-star review. All right, to the phone we go. Paul is joining us in Alberta, Canada. Paul, how can I help today?
Hi, Ken. How are you doing?
I'm living the dream. What's going on?
So I currently work as a laborer at a lawn care company, and they offered me a promotion for winter to be an assistant manager. They've been a good company to work for, and I was excited for the promotion. But after taking your career assessment last year, I had begun to work towards the goal of bookkeeping. This week, I've been offered a job as an accounting tech, but I'm feeling uneasy about taking it. Should I take the job, and what's the proper way to deal with the fear and doubt about it being in the sweet spot?
Well, I love this question. We need to dive into the fear and doubt. So what are you afraid of in potentially taking this accounting job? What are you doubting? And let's see if there's any evidence there, because this could be, your brain protecting you. It also could be your brain holding you back. That's what we got to do. So let's start there. What's causing the uneasiness about taking the accounting job?
Probably mostly just it's not something I've done a whole lot of. I've worked part-time for a small business for probably the past 6 months doing it.
Okay. How's that going?
Say pretty well. I've helped him save some money in some places, and he's been happy about it.
Nice. Has anything bad happened?
I also took on a treasury role, and that didn't go as well. I found myself in over my head and just had to step down in that role.
Treasury role for a nonprofit?
Yeah, a non-for-profit.
Okay, when you say you got over your head, what did that mean specifically?
So I had taken some training courses, and it dealt with the for-profit side of businesses, and then the not-for-profits have a lot more in-depth on the book sides that I just wasn't really prepared for, but I thought I might be, and it felt like a shot.
Yeah, well, but let's look at what happened there. You have all of the ability to do it. You just didn't have the training and the knowledge to do it, but the skill was there, correct?
I think so, yeah.
No, let's come on, let's be honest. The skill part of it, to do the actual accounting, if you knew the regulations or the laws or some of the particulars and you had been trained on it, not just trying to figure it out as you go, you had the skill to do it. You didn't have the training and the knowledge. True or false?
True.
Okay, then. So I understand how that would wound you a little bit and kind of knock you back a step. But instead of questioning whether I should be doing it or not, you should be going, I learned something valuable. I should probably get trained beyond when I take on new accounting functions, right?
Right.
Had you gotten trained, we wouldn't even be having this conversation about that particular situation. True or false?
True.
Okay. And so on this 6-month deal, you haven't gotten out over your skis. For this small business, you're in your lane and you're doing great. You've saved them money. That's a big deal, right?
Right.
All right. So what else? What else is making you question taking this full-time accounting job? Anything else?
More just probably leaving something I'm more familiar with and something that could potentially also be in my sweet spot with the manager position.
Okay, let's look at that. Which one of them will pay better initially?
Initially, the manager job.
For the lawn care?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the ladder look like? What would growth look like at that company? What would you move up to next, and how much would that pay?
So to start, I would be probably just under what I make now, but through the, 1 to 5 years, I would be making probably 10,000 more than what I make now.
10,000, not a lot. Not when you start dividing that out. After taxes, that's not a huge chunk of change. And so what does the growth look like in taking the accounting position?
Oh, sorry. That was the accounting position.
Oh, I'm sorry. So what's the growth look like if you take the manager job for the lawn care?
I don't think there's a lot of growth there just due to the backlog of managers, and it would probably just be the same 3% raise yearly.
Exactly. Okay. And so let's strip money away for a second. Which of the two do you think at this very moment you would get the most enjoyment out of on a day in, day out basis?
I think the accounting tech position.
Okay. All right. I've seen 2 check marks for accounting, 2 X's for lawn care so far. Is there anything else? Anything else where you're stumbling over it? Oh, wait a second. I didn't address this. A minute ago, you said one of the things that's holding you up is I've never done this accounting stuff, or I haven't done it as much as I've done the other. But again, you've got the skill to do it. And you acknowledge that, correct?
Yeah.
All right, then. All right, what else? Anything else? What else is rolling around in your head that's going, I don't know, man. I should probably take the lawn care job. What else?
Yeah, I think it's mostly just fear of the unknown still. Just
right. Okay.
Where do I go after the accounting tech?
Well, what do you mean?
Go back to clarity for that.
Okay. Well, what do you mean? Where do you go after accounting? There's an opportunity. There's an opportunity. Let's map that out. You tell me, what could possibly be in your future once you take this accounting tech job and you do a really good job? We know that there's an opportunity for management. What else could you then be qualified for, whether it's at this company or something else?
I could work my way up to become a partner in that firm. I
Yeah.
could start my own business.
There we go. I see two things right there that I love. So when you say you don't know where you could go from there, you do know where you could go, correct?
Correct.
Paul, listen, I'm not seeing anything that should keep you from taking this accounting tech job. This is the best short-term play, and it's the best long-term play. That experience gets you so many opportunities, relationships as well. I like it. I like that move. Now, if there are some specific unknowns that you have, Paul, have they offered you the job?
I haven't technically gone in for the second interview yet, but
Okay.
I've been meeting with the supervisor or the person who would hand out the job, and they've been
Great.
telling me
Perfect.
that it's basically mine, yeah.
All right. Do you have a list of some things that you still feel are unknown? You just
Not
told me.
really.
Okay, because you told me. Okay, good. So if you don't have a list of things that are unknown, then you know everything there is to know. If you don't know everything there is to know, as far as the day-to-day work, you can't, listen, you and I cannot predict the future. I'm not talking about that kind of unknown. I'm saying you know what is required of this job. You know that you've got the skill for this job. You should know everything that you need to know in this interview process. And if you don't know, ask. And once you get all the knowns, then this is just good old-fashioned common sense. What do I think is the right thing for me? And I feel it. Even though it might be scary, there's nothing to be scared of. You've proven already in this side gig that you have the chops to be an effective, efficient accountant. So now that you know, and by the way, you've got a great mistake that you made. But even then, it was a learning opportunity. It's like, oh, I just hadn't had the training on the minutia or the specifics of a nonprofit accounting situation. So I can do this. I can do it. I've done it. I'm doing it. I can do this. It's a pep talk, Paul. Take it. Step forward.
Thanks for listening to The Ken Coleman Show. For more, you can find the show on demand wherever you listen to podcasts and watch the show on YouTube. You can also find Ken across all social media by following @Ken Coleman.